All right, welcome back to the channel. So, boxing actually has a heartbeat. Whew, good deal. The numbers for Showtime's card that they just aired last week has come out, and I don't know the motherfucking name of it. All right, so had to make sure I got my numbers. I don't want to mess this up. So Showtime had a card. It seems like that might actually be a pulse in boxing. The Leo versus Williams, Tremaine Williams, Angelo Leo versus Tremaine Williams, card peaked at 209,000 viewers and averaged about 150,000 viewers for the Showtime telecast that they had this weekend. Now, the reason why I think that is something where, obviously those are not tremendous numbers, but I don't think that they are bad numbers for Showtime. As I recall, Showtime's viewers, like a very good show for Showtime, like one where you're like, wow, that's a lot of views for Showtime, are obviously the examples you have are Deontay Wilder at the very high end that would do around 1 million, do about 1 million a view, views on Showtime. After that, you would find and I'm not talking about the pay-per-views, I'm talking about the regular ones that are aired. You will see like a Errol Spence Jr. come in somewhere around 650,000, 700,000 on Showtime. That is, a big fight for Showtime. Now, and the reason I say that those are big numbers because Showtime is a smaller premium channel, and I think they have something around 20 million, something like 20 million subscribers in the United States. I think it may be 28 million subscribers in the United States, where you have the bigger networks like Fox. Fox has, hundreds of million, 100 million of people have that in their home easy. Showtime, I think ESPN is somewhere around 95 million people have ESPN in their homes, right? So Showtime, which only has around 20, is significantly smaller. Their viewership numbers are always smaller than, or should always be smaller than Fox, than ESPN. When HBO was on, it would be smaller than HBO, and it would generally be smaller in proportion to the subscriber base, right? Now, Showtime is a subscription channel, so the people the people that watch it have to pay $15 or whatever it is a month that we pay for it. So anyway, it's a smaller pool, and their good numbers for them are somewhere for big fights are somewhere around 600,000, 700,000 for guys like Errol Spence Jr., guys like Adrian Bronner, guys like that. When you get down to some like more of the showbox type of shows, like a very good showbox are usually the ones that have like Clarissa Shields headlining. So if Clarissa Shields will headline, may do 300,000, 330,000. Sometimes I think the last one did like maybe 250,000, something like that for Clarissa Shields, right? As a main event. And then I think the people behind that were guys like Jaron Ennis. I think Jaron Ennis fought on the undercard for her a couple times. So, those are the smaller cards, the ones without the big main guys there, would do somewhere between 200 and 300, between 200 and 300,000. So if you have a guy like Angelo, this is my reasoning, right? And what I expected from the numbers. So when you have a guy like Angelo Leo and Tremaine Williams fighting, these guys are not top level fighters. These are guys that most boxing fans have never heard of before. So I would suspect that, the way that I would compare that to is kind of like a showbox card for Showtime. So the fact that they would average 150,000 for the telecast, for a 3-fight telecast, and peak it up at just over 200,000, I think that is a little off from their numbers. But considering that they didn't have it, that there wasn't a lot of promotion for it ahead of time, and it's their first fight back after that much time, I think that those are decent numbers, especially when you compare them to like what's going on with the ESPN cards, what's going on with the BT cards and the Sky Sports cards. Compared to those, these numbers are good, right? Because if you look at, like I said, you have ESPN ESPN has, 100, just say 100 million, or we can go low and say 80 million. It's in 80 million homes, 100 million homes. And for them to average, those guys to average, 200,000 or peak around less than 300,000 for their views off 85 million to 100 million people in there that have that network versus Showtime that is, 1/5 the size, so you would think that the numbers, if you scale the numbers, you see that Showtime outperformed ESPN if you consider the number of viewers as a percentage of the potential viewers that could have watched, right? So 200,000 out of potential, 28 million or 20 million versus, what is it? 300,000 out of 100 million, better numbers, right? Same thing goes for Sky Sports. Like BT, I'm not as familiar with BT Sports and like what, how big BT is. I didn't do my research on how big BT Sports is relative to like Showtime or how big it is compared to like Sky Sports. But BT Sports, which is the put on the card by Frank Warren in Queensberry Promotions, they average like 93,000 on their telecast. And then Sky Sports, which I do believe is the biggest sports network in the UK, for Eddie Hearn's Matchroom, I think they averaged somewhere in the 200,000s. They peaked at less or somewhere around 300,000. So their numbers were very close to the ESPN numbers, right? For Sky. And I don't know how big Sky is, but I'm sure Sky is bigger than Showtime is. So, but anyway, all right, so if you look at it, I think that the numbers from Showtime, they're encouraging. Now, I don't know if the numbers are better because ESPN has had so many cards and people were getting used to the idea of being back because all these guys put on cards before Showtime did, right? Or whether or not, there's just more that the percentage of people that have subscriptions for Showtime specifically for boxing is higher than the people that have ESPN for boxing. I think that there's a good chance of that. So I'm not going to say that, so I'm not going to say that, oh, this is really because Showtime Sports is so much better at boxing and their cards are so much better, because I don't think that the card was necessarily any better. They were just, a bunch of fights that nobody asked for pretty much, right? Or you wouldn't be overly concerned about when you heard them announced if boxing was in its regular, if the amount of regular fights were coming up, you wouldn't be as concerned about it. But what I do think it is, what it does tell you though is that it bodes well for the Showtime cards that are coming up, right? Now, so Showtime has 2 pay-per-view cards coming up, and they've got with the Jamal Charlo, and the other one with Leo Santa Cruz, Gervonta Tank Davis and Leo Santa Cruz, right? And then the PBC also has these cards coming up on Fox. What it could mean is that these numbers mean that the numbers for the fights that are coming up are going to be close to what the numbers are expected or would be expected to be if we were not in the pandemic, right? So it bodes well. Long story short, because the numbers for this Showtime card are pretty consistent with what they normally get for a fight card of this level, right? That there's a chance that as better fights are aired, that the same amount of people will also watch, right? Or the expected amount of people will also watch those bigger promotions, which means that the pay-per-view event, around for Gervonta Davis and Leo Santa Cruz could come in somewhere around, I suspect it'll come in around 300, 350,000, 300,000, probably somewhere around the 300,000 range, 250 to 300,000 range. Jamal Charlo, I expect to come in somewhere around there as well. Lower than the Errol Spence Jr. fight, lower than the Manny Pacquiao and those, but enough to cover the guys' costs and allow these guys to get paid a good amount of money. So, it's just interesting to see how these numbers are coming out. But it is a positive. I think that that card is a positive step for boxing, and it's a good sign for the Showtime cards. It's a good show it's a good signed for the Showtime cards that are coming up. I'm hoping that the ESPN cards can get better, but I don't think that the ESPN cards are going to get any better. And ESPN is also at risk with Teofimo Lopez because one of the big fights that they're looking to put on, and I'm thinking maybe they're looking to put it on the ESPN Plus app. I don't know if it's going to be on the ESPN Plus app or the regular ESPN. I would hope that it would be on the regular ESPN, but one of the big fights that really could, save the year rating wise for ESPN and for Top Rank and make ESPN, feel positive about the investment that they're making in ESPN boxing could be the fight between Vasily Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. But unfortunately, it appears as if that fight is in danger because Teofimo Lopez is saying that he wants more money. He's offered like 1.2 million and there's 3 million for Vasily Lomachenko. But if Gervonta Davis but in order for Teofimo Lopez to get that money, Top Rank is going to have to take that crap up out of their bank account. So it's a high probability, or a good chance. I won't say high probability because I don't know the inside of what's going on, but there is a possibility that fight might get cut off, which could then be a benefit for the PBC because people are going to be people are starved for very good fights. I don't think people are starved for fights that they don't care about. You know what I mean? So I would love to see the NBA finals. I would love to see a really high level basketball game. But since that's not happening, that doesn't mean that I'm going to pay my basketball money to watch the Washington Generals and the Harlem Globetrotters play. You know what I mean? So, anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. Make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon. Thank you to everybody that supports in the Patreon and the channel memberships. And with that, I'm out. Peace.